What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs. My name is Briggs, and I once faked a lunar landing in high school. I did. It's not a conspiracy, it's just something weird I did. Today we're gonna take a break from the things like crime, poverty, and jokes about my cousin's ex-wife, and get back to the strange things. Today's strange things will be about Magic City, Miami, Florida. Yep, that's its nickname, Magic City. Along with that one comes the gateway to the Americas. It's right here, in case you've never heard of Miami or ever watched an episode of CSI Miami or Miami Vice back in the day. Miami has the largest Cuban population in the United States. If you've ever been to Miami, you already know this. The gateway to the Americas had about 400,000 residents in the 2010 census and is estimated to have around 470,000 now. So they gained about 70,000 people, which is a good chunk of people. Now that's just in the city. The metro area has about 6 million people, and most of them are in desperate need of sunscreen. Again, if you've ever been to Miami, you know this. With all those people and the fact that Miami was settled way back in 1825, there's a lot of opportunity for some strange things. And that's what we're talking about today. The strange things about Miami. So let's get started. Why don't you sit on back and watch my top 10 strangest things about Miami, Florida. Number 10. A woman. This is the first and only major U.S. city to be founded by a woman. Julia Tuttle, known as the Mother of Miami, was a businesswoman, and in 1894 she convinced Henry Flagler, a railroad industrialist, to expand the railroad system to reach Miami so that they could get supplies and goods. Back then, Miami was just a little coastal town, basically sandwiched between the Atlantic Ocean and the Everglades. There wasn't much there. This put Miami on the map, and it was incorporated in 1896, almost 70 years after it was settled. Sadly, she didn't live much longer. Julia Tuttle passed away on September 14th, 1898 at the age of 49. When she died, she was in serious debt because of the rail deal, and she was sort of forgotten for a lot of years because of this. Miami wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for Julia Tuttle. It would have been years before the place boomed if it wasn't for this lady. Back in those days, there really weren't any big towns or cities that far down in Florida. Fort Lauderdale, probably the closest major city to Miami, didn't have its first major development begin until the 1920s during the Florida land boom. But there is a statue in Bayfront Park, Miami, of Miss Tuttle to this day, which is kind of nice. Number 9. Gold. When on vacation in Miami, bring a metal detector. The city has been known to have gold and silver found on its beaches. Local folk tales say that pirates may have buried treasure along the beaches in Miami many, many years ago. Today, a lot of people take that to heart and are out searching for it every single day. Besides the pirates, tourists and other beachgoers lose things in the sand every single day. People have found watches, jewelry, gold teeth, guns, swords, and keys. One man said he's been using a metal detector for over 20 years on Miami's beaches and has seen about everything, including a solid gold shot glass, a street sign from New Jersey buried in the sand, and he's also found more than a few, how do I say this nicely? Let's just call them electric massagers that don't normally massage the back and resemble an eggplant emoji. Why would someone take that to the beach? All that sand, that's not good. Number 8. Miami Beach. Miami was ranked as one of the best beaches in the country, and that was according to the Travel Channel. What's great about that is Miami's beaches shouldn't even be there. Up until 1915, all Miami Beach was a small sandbar. Builders came in and built up the beach. And today the beach is still artificial and needs sand to be brought into the area because the beaches slowly get eroded by the tides. Shorelines are constantly changing environments. Fluctuations in the seasons and weather can affect the overall structure of the shoreline. This means that you need to fix your beaches every once in a while. And every time Miami gets a hurricane in the area, they'll lose up to half their shoreline, one study reported. Which, that's pretty weird. I've seen this happen growing up near beach community. When we get a big storm, the beach shrinks by a couple 20, 30 yards. It's kind of weird. And then you get the tractors out there and the bulldozers, and they're dumping sand and pushing it and filling it in. Almost like they're decorating a cake. It's pretty neat. Number 7. Tourism. Not only is Miami the cruise ship capital of the world, but its main industry is tourism. The city sees over 10 million tourists every single year, and these tourists make up about 60% of Miami's economic activity. This means there's plenty of jobs readily available in hotels, entertainment, and transportation. Scam artists and pickpockets apply their trade here as well. Pickpockets really aren't as big of a deal in the US like it is in Europe. It's also a trade slowly fading away. Miami still has them hanging around, so if you look closely, you might see one. Actually, if they're any good, you won't see them. The American pickpocket was once a proud criminal tradition, steeped in history, drama, and romanticized in books and movies. But since nobody really carries cash anymore, the allure of the exciting life of a pickpocket has kind of faded. I mean, now they're going on to cyber crimes and things like that. See, just another thing where tech is just killing American jobs, just like robots. Soon we'll have robot pickpockets. How bad will that be? Number 6, Burger King. In 1953, Insta Burger King was founded in Jacksonville. Just in the first year, they had some money problems. So two franchisees, I can't even say that word. It's hard. Two people that own franchises bought the company, moving it to Miami and renaming it Burger King in 1954. Thank God for that. Without those two people moving it to Miami and dropping that Insta nonsense, we wouldn't know the pleasures of the chicken fry or the Yumbo from the 1970s. We may never have been creeped out by that Burger King mascot. That King guy makes me uncomfortable, and not in a good way. Like in a really bad way. Like I don't really want to sleep or eat hamburgers when I see him. And I like hamburgers. Number 5, the underwater cemetery. The Neptune Memorial Reef is an artificial reef cemetery. The idea is for it to look like the lost city of Atlantis. I don't know how they know what it looks like, the lost city of Atlantis. I mean, it's lost. There's no pictures. So anyway, it's supposed to look like someone's idea of the lost city of Atlantis. But in the grand scheme of things, this is just an overpriced underwater cemetery. It is pretty cool though, but it's also really kind of weird, especially seeing that you need to go out and get scuba certified just to go visit your grandma. If you try and put flowers on her headstone underwater, they're just going to float up. Now you got to swim up, get the flowers, bring them down, and try and wedge them in someplace. Then you realize you're out of air because you forgot to check, of course, because you're new at the whole scuba thing. You only did it just so you can go see your grandma. 7 days later, they're placing you right next to grandma. No, thank you. If anyone in my family wants to become a reef, they're dead to me. I mean, both figuratively and literally, because they're dead. You get it. Anyway, moving on. Number 4, it's a safari park. You can see alligators in various places around Miami, mainly near swampy areas, ponds, or lakes. But it's not unusual to see one inviting itself into your backyard. Not a year goes by that we don't see some news report about some giant alligator that decided he liked someone's pool better than the swamp. The last time I mentioned alligators in Florida, I had some yahoo named Gary from, I guess, the Australian outback. And he explained to me that alligators and crocodiles are the same thing, and the only reason we call them alligators is so us Americans feel better about something like we have something special. Yes, Gary, us Americans go out of our way to rename reptiles so we feel better about ourselves and our status on the world stage. That was really insightful of you, Gary. The thing is this, Gary was sort of correct. Crocodilians comprise of a variety of large reptiles, including alligators, crocodiles, and caiman, found around the world. Many of these species are threatened by the leather trade and thus protected under the Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species, Wild Fauna and Flora. It's a mouthful, but yeah, they're kind of in the same family. Kind of like a racehorse is the same thing as a mule, Gary. Anyway, moving on. On a sad note, in that video where Gary decided to insert himself, I mentioned people sometimes get attacked and dragged into the swamp by alligators. And it was increasing because of all the retirees and their obsession with walking little dogs around ponds and lakes. 2 days later, after that video was uploaded, that exact same thing happened. I took the video down. If you want to safely see wildlife like alligators, there's a safari park about 45 minutes outside of Miami. Number 3, the lowest major city. Miami is the southernmost major city in the U.S. with about 470,000 residents, and it's about 2 degrees north of the Tropic of Cancer. The next southernmost city would be Tampa, and that's a 4.5-hour drive north of Miami. And no, Fort Lauderdale is not a major city, so stop typing. I don't care that you had a good time there on spring break, and there was a lot of people there, and it really seemed like a major city. When you have an influx of tourists, that doesn't make you a major city because they're gone 2 weeks later. It's math, people. In respect to Homestead, if you want to tell me that's a major city, I don't think you're allowed to be a major city when you have 70,000 people and 43,000 teeth. Miami is so far south, it's almost as far south as the tip of Baja, California. Number 2, Avocado Wine. Since Miami is one of the world's largest producers of avocados, it's only natural for someone to figure out a way to get you drunk on avocados. Here at Oregon, we have a lot of pumpkins. And we have a lot of pumpkin ales. that we get drunk off of. So you see what I'm saying? Located in the Homestead area of Miami is the Schnebly Redlands Winery and Brewery, which offers a unique wine. This is the first wine ever made out of avocados. How does it taste? I don't know. I've never had it. I'm not a wine person, no matter what they make it out of. Maybe if they made it out of barbecue sauce or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd give it a try, but I don't drink wine. I would love to explain to it and how it tastes, but the website, they use that lame, uppity wine speak that means nothing to me. I'll read it to you. When making our Florida avocado wine, the oils separate during fermentation, yielding a beautiful light acid. This wine exhibits a citrus pear nose and refreshing hints of grapefruit on the palate, with a natural lingering finish. So yeah, like I said, it's that I don't know what that means, but if you do, congratulations on being a wine connoisseur. Anyway, so yeah, I thought that's weird that they make avocado wine near Miami. And number 1, the cruise lines. The Port of Miami has been known as the cruise capital of the world for the last 20 years. Every year, the port sees about 2,500 cruise ships and about 4 million tourists, bringing in about $95 million in annual revenue to Miami. Those people just don't go straight to the cruise ship and hoist anchor and off they go. They normally get to Miami a day or two early and put on a hideous Hawaiian shirt, sunscreen, and hit the beaches, leaving plenty of cash behind. Carnival Cruise Lines ports about 850 cruises a year, Royal Caribbean about 600, Norwegian does around 300, and Disney Cruises does somewhere in the neighborhood of 200. They have a whole bunch of other cruise lines that all put in about 100 a year. So it's a very busy port, to say the least, and most of it is cruise industry. I mean, they do cargo just like everything else, but a lot of their money comes from these cruise ships. I'll be going on an Alaskan cruise with Norwegian in April, and I'll give you all the details about that in a video when I get back. But one of these days, I'm going to make it out to the cruise capital of the world, Miami, and do a video about that. Alright, so that's my top 10 strange facts about Miami, Florida. I hope you guys got some entertainment out of it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget all the links below, including my t-shirts and stuff. I sell those off Teespring and everything. There's links below. That really helps out the channel. And another thing, I shut down the Patreon thing. I was using that as a way to help support the channel while it grew. It's grown. I don't need it anymore. I may start that thing that YouTube's offering, the same type thing, but it'll be on YouTube in the future. I don't know yet. Anyway, everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.